Welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minute. We'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're back to finish out the week with 63 of Jurassic Park 3. But before we get to that, and we will be brief, David, you've got some new things.
I did. I ordered, and I think I remember mentioning this, I ordered the W Dragon Spinosaurus, so that finally came in, and it looks fantastic.
I've seen the photo you posted up with the green T-Rex, and it does look amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty big too. I mean, it's bigger than a T-Rex, which is why it's in this movie. But anyway, the coloration is really cool because you can stick it into sunlight, and you'll see all these colors light up in it. But if you stick it under a yellow, say, incandescent light bulb, it just turns gray. It just turns flat, kind of brownish. Which is funny because that's something that this actually happens in the course of Jurassic Park 3, where, for example, when we see the Spinosaurus in, say, the lighting pre-filter from the night scenes that they do, and the stage lights kind of make the animatronic look like a flat brown, but when we see it during the T-Rex versus Spinosaurus behind-the-scenes pictures, you can plainly see those colors because they have the sunlight filtering through the hatch in the studio. So it's very well painted because it kind of creates the same exact effect that they had going on in the on the actual Spinosaurus. You're kind of speechless.
Sorry, I was just looking on eBay to see if I could find it.
No, you won't.
We'll have to talk, especially since I don't know if I'll ever get the Mattel version.
I just got the Mattel version thanks to a link from a friend of mine. That one did actually come through. I think I mentioned it, but I don't think I ever said that I actually got it when we were talking with Jay. That one, it did actually come, so it worked out. It was only $45 US, and I'm very thankful that it went through.
Mm.
Shipping actually was free, too. I don't know why, but it was, and the shipping was, like I said, the communication was non-existent, but it came in one piece, and I'm very happy.
Wow. I'm very lucky for that to happen.
I'll see if the link is still active, and I'll send it to you if it is.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll go and try and do it, and I'll come up with sorry, we don't ship internationally, or ship to Australia or something.
Well, it did ship internationally because it said it was coming from the United Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
And the other big score that I got this week was, this one's kind of special because it's kind of rare right now, is the Mattel Comic-Con exclusive John Hammond.
Yeah, and we're going to revisit this subject in the next Jurassic Minutes because Entertainment Earth have since announced they're doing pre-orders for, from all I read, the exact same figure, including the packaging. So it's they've got up for pre-order for $25 US, which is amazing, and I do hope that it continues and we do get it coming out. But David, you've guaranteed got one now. It's in hand.
I do,
and
it's awesome. It's so cool. I mean, the packaging is cool because it's got the Jurassic Park gates, as we've seen, with the little T-Rex logo over the actual doors themselves, and the doors flip open, and you see Hammond there, and he's got his cane next to him with the baby raptor coming out of the egg on the incubator. It's so cool. I don't think I'm taking it out of the package. I always take my toys out of the package. This one's staying in the package.
Yeah, I'll just wait and see what happens with the Entertainment Earth one. Maybe you can get a second one for $25. And
if I can get a second one, I'll take that one out of the package. But I don't know. This one, I took the Mosasaurus out of the package, the little one from the first Jurassic World line, and now those sell for like $200 in box, and I'm like, you know.
Well, we've complained. We've talked a lot about that original Hasbro Indominus Rex too, and it's the same. Although I don't think I've seen the Rex commanding such a high price, and it's probably a good thing. That thing is horrible.
Yeah, the thing with it. I miss all of my Mattel dinosaur toys. All of them. I think the only thing I have left is the motorcycle for Owen.
Yeah, mine's here looking at me now with that gumpy bottom jaw. I just want to use as target practice. And just briefly too, I should mention for any listeners in Australia, which I'd have to check the analytics to see if there is, but Kmart and Big W here have confirmed that we'll be getting the Brachiosaur in December, so it'll be arriving here just before Christmas. Luckily, I'm not sure what numbers. There might be 2 per store or something stupid like that, but be on the lookout for that. And the one of the Indominus figures as well is coming over here, but I thought that was great that Mattel were able to confirm that.
Kind of bearing the lead there, I'm going to go on a tangent. You guys still have Kmart?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I loved Kmart. Ours closed years ago. I loved Kmart. I got so much of my Jurassic Park 3 toys there.
It's sort of
Sears in general is just gone. What?
Yeah, they've done a bit of a rebranding, or sort of went for a lot of. I could only really compare it to maybe like Walmart, where you can buy a lot of crap for cheap, like a lot of homewares. Yeah, a lot of homewares and that here. All sort of the clothing and that was all sort of a lot cheaper stuff. Yeah.
I actually found a flannel shirt there, and it was like the crappiest flannel shirt I ever bought because it ripped like right away. But it was as close to the Alan Grant dig site flannel that I've ever seen anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could find that again because I would buy it.
Yeah. Yep. And one of the worst things too, Kmart and even Target, they're doing a lot of Jurassic prints on kids' shirts. A lot of sort of original Jurassic trilogy stuff on kids' shirts, and sometimes 1 out of every 20 design they made. So, we'll just make this one an adult size. Where a lot of collectors over here are wishing they either had children or were children's size, so they can get these shirts to wear around.
That's kind of how it is with Kohl's here. I mean, there's so much Jurassic stuff just printed on all kinds of kids' shirts. But you might see, like you said, 1 out of every 20 design ends up in adult sizes.
Yeah. It's our money, damn it. We're the ones buying it.
Throw us a bone.
Yep, exactly.
Nothing to worry about, sir. It's going to be a walk in the park.
Heading over to Jurassic-Pedia.com briefly, David, we've got an article here which is a little bit of an older one, but the helipad compound from Isla Nublar. It's one of those locations, and we've got a little write-up here about the location and that, and how it was the main access point, the gateway to Nublar, really, for visitors that we see in the film. And it's something. The Jurassic Falls are still there. Of course, the helipad itself had needed to be removed after filming that, but
well, the helipad itself probably evaporated not soon while they were filming, because the helipad that they used, they had to actually keep redoing because it was just painted plywood, and they kept washing away into the pool there.
Well, anyone that was following Real News Hawaii over the Jurassic World filming, seen how quickly that Indominus Rex set deteriorated.
Yeah,
the paint falling off it and timber warping just because of the tropics.
Well, it's also because, it is the tropics and things rot very fast in the tropics, but it was plywood and plaster. They didn't build that to last at all. It was built to survive the duration of the filming, and that's it.
Yep. But yeah, like the locations for filming's still there. If it was the main ingress point of Nublar for the original film, obviously it all changed when Jurassic World come around, but if we're going to see a couple of these locations one last time before the volcano went off, I think this is something that they could have really easily done. Mm-hmm. Return to the area, even if you had the damaged helipad there.
I think that a lot of fans wanted it like a montage of the volcano just destroying the island. So I know a lot of fans talked about seeing a montage of just places that we've seen of the island, like, say, the visitor center covered in weeds getting blasted with lava, and the helipad and the lava just blowing out of the mountainside and extinguishing that water,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll spare, and especially now, there's been an interview of Colin, which we'll get to in the next minute's episode as well, where he said how the third film's going to be a celebration of everything that's come before, and it's hard to hard to take that seriously when you've pretty much destroyed everything that's come before. So apart from some of the original cast,
I think that's what he means. He's gonna try to get much of the original cast back together as he can. You know, save of course for Samuel L. Jackson, whose character is dead, and Richard Attenborough, who himself is dead. Unfortunately,
well, we never seen the body.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he could come back with a robot arm.
Yeah, well, we've still seen fans that think Nedry's still running around living with the Dilophosaurs. But it sort of brings up another interesting point too. I was at a convention here locally yesterday and talking to Adrian with Jurassic 4-Wheel Drive. You can check it out on Facebook. He's got one of his card is done up as a Explorer, the whole paint scheme. And he had that wrapped 7 or 8 years ago, and now a lot of the vinyl's starting to come away. He uses it to go full driving and that, so it's got scratches and that on it, and he's sort of evolving the design, putting some claw marks across the paintwork and that to make it a little bit more banged up, and he's going to start doing some rust details, like joints where rusty water would hang, like sort of drip down the panels, and not so much to the extreme as what we see the Explorer in Fallen Kingdom, but it sort of got us talking about if the Nublar incident didn't happen in '93, maybe Jurassic Park 3 set in 2001, 8 years later, what would the park look like? Explorers, like 8-year-old explorers, after being abused by tourists, driving along electronically with a flat rear tyre, or windows, or the Perspex bubble on top so scratched you could barely see through it, and just how much a worn-out park would look like.
I mean, I kind of always imagined that it'd be more Disney than that, because, I mean, I'm sure you have round-the-clock janitors just wiping off and doing scratch detailing and changing tires, and, you know, a whole pit crew just ready on the clock, ready to do that, you know? Make sure that doesn't look like that. Yeah,
until maybe attendants started to waver or something, but...
That's when you introduced the Indominus Rex.
Sponsored by Verizon. Because it sort of had us thinking too about the Jurassic Park the ride, how stuff stopped working, animatronics weren't working on that properly, and the Explorer on that stopped doing its fall down the cliff scene that it used to do towards the start of its run as well. And it was just something interesting to think about and discuss.
I was thinking that let's face it, if we all had a Jurassic Jeep, I would find it very hard not to off-road in that thing. But, I'm going to be the first to say that. I've owned sedans my whole life, but, I've only owned 2 cars ever, and both were sedans, but, whatever. But I would just say that if I had a 4x4 Jeep with off-road capability, that thing's going off-road. That thing's seeing more airtime than a 747.
So head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and check out the helipad compound area. The helipad compound, I suppose we didn't really discuss that too. We do see him go through that gateway shortly after the paddock, whether it's there to surround the helipad or whether it's just a perimeter fence to enter the herbivore area itself. So
I always took it as the perimeter fence because Nedry enters... Nedry enters the dinosaur paddocks through a similar gate, you know? I think that, compound is a bit of a strong word, but it does look like it has a little dam there next to the helipad that kind of redirects the water away from the helipad itself, you know?
Yeah, and it is, even the real location, it's sort of in a little canyon, so...
Yeah.
Unless they're...
I think you actually take a helicopter to the location.
Yeah, you can't actually drive to the physical location at Kauai, so it wouldn't need to be a compound. It would only need to be a little perimeter fence there to close this section off if that's what it's for, or as I said, just the main perimeter fence for the island.
The helicopter. By helicopter, I always assume this was more the VIP entrance to the park rather than. I'm sure because in the luncheon scene they show an American Airlines Boeing plane flying over the island, and so I'm assuming that they had an airstrip on the island and would probably have flown passengers in by airplane, Yeah,
well, that's especially with what we do see in the scene here where we've got workmen in neat attire opening the doors for the visitors, opening the gates for the visitors. It's just sort of weird, and okay, we need the mystery in the film, but there's no signage at this gate whatsoever, or no sign at the edge of the helipad saying welcome Jurassic Park or anything else. That's going to be saved for the visitor centre and the main gates as we enter the tour area.
I'd also assume that those guys aren't actually naturally posted at that gate all the time. They're probably there to open and close the gate because they knew the big boss was coming in that weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, which again, it is amazing to think that after the Jeeps go through, they just sort of lock the gates and walk off screen. That's the last we ever see.
They probably had their own gas-powered Jeep back to the compound, parked off someplace.
Yeah. It also must mean that there's some sort of a people-sized gate access way through the fence as well, considering they're both on separate sides.
Then again, I mean, they kind of locked down the perimeter fence like a military thing. I mean, you hear the gate open, and I mean, you hear the gate close, and they lock the gate, and you hear the electric hum go back into the as the circuit recloses.
Okay, come on over. One at a time.
All right, ready to get into minute 63.
Yeah.
As we enter minute 62 of Jurassic Park 3, Billy rescued Eric with the parachute, but were coming under attack by the flying pteranodons. In the cage catwalks, Alan, Paul, and Amanda were also facing a pteranodon of their own. As we open on minute 63, as the adult pteranodon pushes the adults further along the cages, Grant decides it's a good idea to try and kick it in the head. The animal squawks and lunges back at him, and Grant, Paul, and Amanda turn and run. At the 6-second mark, Billy swoops in low over the water and tells Eric to let go, and the boy falls through the air, landing in the river below. Up above, Paul, Grant, and Amanda reach the end of the catwalks as the pteranodon enters the section with them. The extra weight is too much stress for the mounts, and the whole catwalk swings down, and everyone falls to the river below. But luckily the current carries them away from the drop zone, as the pteranodon first hits and then the cage lands on top of it, sending it to the bottom of the river. At the 28-second mark, Billy's in trouble. Trying to steer the parachute one way or another, he ends up flying straight into the canyon wall, and the chute gets stuck on a rocky outcrop, putting them in a very convenient biting height for the pteranodons. At the 49-second mark, as the pteranodons begin to circle, we cut back down the river, as Paul, Amanda and Grant climb out of the water, soaking wet. Further downstream, Eric too climbs out of the river and points up at the canyon wall. He's up there. And this ends minute 63 of Jurassic Park 3. As we continue from last minute, the grown-ups are having their own issue with the pteranodon being pushed along the catwalks by the one walking inside, and we get a great side shot here panning along the outside the catwalk as they move inside, and we get a good look here of the up close of the sort of shoulders and head of the pteranodon as it's walking here, and if it's CG, it's very good.
I want to say that this is the puppet, that they at some point that they probably CG'd the wings, but they're using the body and head section, and somebody's standing off screen holding those sections of the actual puppet that they had built, just closing, because you never actually see the head move. You only just see the wings moving, Yeah,
yep. Yeah, they could have easily CG'd the rest of the animal here as it walks past the mesh.
Yeah. Then we get a a rear view from Grant's point of view, and you see him kick it. I like how he kicks it in the face, like he expects them to do something. Will it go away if he kicks it? It's kind of like kicking a crocodile. I mean, it's not really going to go away if you kick it. It's just going to kind of piss him off.
Yeah, especially when Grant's here, sort of, as it's walking, it's sort of eye to eye, or no, it's taller than Grant, and I know he's not, he's probably not a super athlete, but he's not sort of overweight as well. But I do love the fact that he can get his foot that high.
I was thinking the same thing.
To kick him in the face.
Damn.
And we know from behind the scenes how much they worked out and how physically demanding the shoot was. So I'm sure Sam Neill is in good health here while he was filming. But Grant itself, especially as we see in the start of the film, where he's probably doing a lot of hotel living, travelling around trying to find funding and that. We don't see a gym at that dig site anyway, but surely Billy's got something rigged there because he sort of has the physique. But
at the same time, I mean, we remember that from the novel that Grant was maybe around this age. In the novel, he was an older man. He wasn't the young man that he was portrayed as in the first movie. And he was still pretty athletic. I mean, Ellie recalls a memory where where Grant walked back to camp on a broken leg and fighting coyotes and stuff on the way back for 2 days. Remember?
Yeah. That's like that comes up when once after the T-Rex attack, and they know that sort of Grant's heading back with the kids and hoping the motion sensors will find them, but which is interesting to think that they're going to go with Harrison Ford for that role, where I suppose in the 90s we're starting to get around Air Force One and that, where he was getting a little bit older and a little bit more gruff, but that was going to be a game I was going to play earlier on with. You imagine Harrison Ford, if he did play Grant, being back for the third one, where they're in the tank and it's just, suck it up, kid.
Get off sort of my island.
Even on who hit me on the plane. It'd be interesting going through some of the lines, the dialogue he's got in here. And they're sort of doing it in the Harrison Ford voice, or as Harrison Ford. But the kick to the head doesn't deter the pteranodon at all, which is understandable. Kick a dog in the face, it's still going to growl at you and come at you. But we cut to Billy flying with Eric, and Eric's got him around the neck rather tightly, which could again be a little bit of a callback to Lex around Grant, although we don't get the "you're choking me" and the struggling for breath here like we do in Jurassic Park. But Billy yells to let go, and Eric sort of looks down and drops to the water without much hesitation. And we see here they must be fairly close to the water, even though I don't think Eric fell straight, or the stuntman fell straight, because he nearly hits the water in a belly flop. And again here we get a good look up at the roof of the aviary here, which I still, all these shots, I still wouldn't be able to sketch what these cross beams are meant to look like, because they sort of change as we get different shots of what they are. These large steel beams with, it doesn't look like there's any walkway or anything across them for maintenance and that, so.
No.
Up above, Amanda and Paul come back to that opening section that Paul stopped at earlier, last minute, and as they sort of stop, we get this whole section here shake as well, as they stop dead in their tracks, and the pteranodon continues to follow them. We cut down sort of section.
You get this undershot of the pteranodon bearing down on them, and you can see it looks like the section is starting to come away more. And you can also see the struts that have already broken away, from the piece that had already broken away, where that gap was.
And it's sort of it's good. It just adds more dimension here. How we do get this low shot looking up, as the cage is shaking, and those struts sort of starting to pull away from the wall, and the weight of them sort of in it. The end section of the cage anyway, the mounts break free, and we sort of get the swing down here. And although it's not as much in the film, in the script and the novel, it goes a lot more similar to the RV sequence from The Lost World, where it swings down there inside it, but in the novel and the script, because the pteranodon's on top of this section, and at the bottom end they're sort of hanging from the top section. If they fall or if they move down any further, the pteranodon's going to be able to bite them, like it's below them at this stage. But not here, but they sort of fall down as it swings down, and all three of them fall out at the bottom, and again land in water below, which is lucky. These canyon walls seem to be so sheer that the water's right to the side of it here.
And they're lucky because, again, some of the spots that we had seen of the of where the water meets the canyon, we see that the canyon itself kind of juts out at it's got something of a small shoreline, you know?
Yeah, well, especially when we get some of the aerial shots looking down here, we get some sections of the stream or the river below that's rather shallow with rocks in it, and then the other sections here where it must have pooled a little bit, and the water's growing like right to the canyon wall. But it's sort of it is interesting here too, and we'll get to it as we start getting into some of these minutes. At this stage, they've gone pretty much as deep into the canyon in this section as they can go. They're only about 50 feet or something from where those rock outcrops were, and when Eric looked over the side of that, he's seen water below as well, so there must be a large sort of natural lake here at the very end of the canyon. But it's just odd that I think, and I'll have to re-jog my memory when we get to these future minutes, when they all come out of the water, they're seemingly back at the dome again, and at the bottom end of the canyon.
I mean, they all make it to the bottom eventually, one way or another.
Yeah. And all even here too, like as they left the observation platform and sort of ran this way, the cages never seem to have changed elevation at all. Yet when Grant and that tried to go down that second flight of stairs and the cage dropped away, it sounded like it was a good 100, 200 feet above the water, where here they're 30, 40 feet above the water and can fall into it. They surface and take a breath, and behind them we see the animal fall into the water as well, which, again, something here that's not really explained. It is explained a lot more in the script of the novel, whereas as soon as they hit the water, the currents take them away really quickly.
But yeah, the cage falls in after the pteranodon does, and the pteranodon, you can kind of see it like trying to take off in the water, but its wings appear to be too wet, and it just doesn't make it, and the rest of the cage falls on top of it as it comes off the edge of the rock. And I imagine it probably broke the wings, you know? I mean, that pteranodon's going to drown.
Yeah, it is seemingly getting elevation. Like, it is very slowly getting away from the water surface, even with its wet wings. But with I think we mentioned back with Jay when he was on, when we were talking all about the pteranodons, just how fragile the wings are with the vertebrae and the like the skin cover and that. This steel cage, no matter how old, how rusty, how fatigued it is, it falling 30, 40 feet or whatever it is onto the animal, then pushing that animal into the water, I don't think it would have killed the animal, and once it gets under the water and to the bottom, it might have had enough buoyancy to be able to move the cage, but I definitely don't think it'd be able to fly again. But it's not supposed to either. It's not, even though they're a little bit more monstrous in their design and actions, it's not meant to be a stalker or a serial killer where here we think it's dead and next minute it's going to come back to kill them. There's more animals here in the aviary that's going to do that for us.
Yeah.
Grant takes a moment to watch the cage sink and take the pteranodon wound with it before he turns and starts swimming towards shore. And as we've said before, it's interesting, this section, maybe again because they're being carried by the current a little bit, they're able to go from this section where there is no shore to another section where there is a shoreline they can climb out of the water onto.
Mm-hmm.
But up above, Billy's having some trouble of his own. This sort of parachute gets hung up on a bit of a rock outcrop, and he gets sent, not so much as in the script, but he does hit the canyon wall here pretty hard.
Yeah, it does, and wham, right into the cliff.
Yeah. And even, like, we had the whole thing at the start where he's pretty much gone through this whole situation before in New Zealand. Just then it was the strap of the lucky pack that held him up on the wall, and not the parachute. But I do love the visuals here. It's sort of him hanging from this set, and even as we cut back, as the pteranodons begin to circle high above, it does look good. And we get a brief shot here as they are circling of the seemingly another little stream coming into this canyon.
Yes, I saw that in the picture you shared with me. It looks almost like we get one of the like a cut, like a second of the stream cuts, and we get a small island there in the middle of the aviary.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't get a lot of shots of it, but there is the rock does come up to divide the two, which could suggest that stream comes in from somewhere else, or there might be just a finger of rock in the middle here as an island. But in the again, looking at the production map of the aviary, while the area where the nesting site and that is the end of the main canyon, there is a stream that comes off to the side of it, and this could be it. But the only problem with that is where Billy's hanging would have to be above the cage catwalk somewhere that they ran up to get to that back section. And as we look down here, there's nothing on the wall at all.
Well, it may also, I mean, this, to be fair, that production map is just a map of where the various sets that they're building are supposed to line up, and I don't think it's an actual, a true representation of the final CGI'd aviary would look, you know?
No, it's all we got. Give me a little bit. But, yeah, well, especially when we get to the domed end a little bit later, and this whole scene, we've seen them flying and just seeing the roof or the top of the aviary just disappear off into the distance, where it almost seems like this canyon's a mile long.
I know it does. I mean, seems like there's the front of the aviary, and then what I think it is that it's just a stream that cuts through it into the main canyon that leads them out to the rescue spot, you know?
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk more about that when we get to that entrance out into the river. But Billy's trying in vain to get his chute unstuck, holding on to the straps and trying to shake it and get it to become untangled, which almost might be in vain here. Even if the parachute sort of slides off or becomes unfree, I don't think it's going to be able to do much from now on. But we cut down to the adults as they start to climb out of the river, and Eric does too in a separate location.